Hi everybody, today I'm going to be talking through the books I'm going to be reading this fall season, mostly August, September, and October in part. There will be some room for books I could pick up on a whim. I find that sometimes when I pick up a book based on my mood or based on a whim, sometimes those end up being my favorite books, so I am leaving some space for that. And I'm also going to be talking through some books I'm already currently reading that I mentioned in my last video, which was also filmed outside, but in a different location. I was in the Southwest for that one, visiting family. But right now, as I mentioned in that last video, I'm currently reading Crime and Punishment. So this is a buddy read I'm doing with my mother. It's her favorite book of all time. And so we're slowly reading through the chapters together, talking through this book because there is a lot to unpack. There is so much going on in this book. And it's a book that, for me, took some time getting into it. When I first picked up the book, I was immediately intrigued, but I didn't necessarily get the impression that this would be a favorite of all time type of situation. But as I'm reading further and talking through it more with my mother, I am more and more intrigued. So I will be continuing this book for a while. Next, I am reading Wars of Light and Shadow, book number 6, which is Peril's Gate by Jenny Wirtz. This book is very interesting so far. I'm almost 40% through the ebook. It does take its time in places. I have found that to be the case. Now, I am somebody who can get behind a slow burn book, but this book is even taking its time for me in places, though there have been a few things that have happened so far that I'm very excited to discuss whenever Philip finishes the book, whenever I finish the book, Philip finishes the book, and we get together with the AP to talk about it. So there's, it's an epic fantasy story, and it's very long, even for this series. So it will take some time for me to get through it, especially because Wirtz's style is quite rich. It is quite dense. It takes some time to read. The sentences are complex, and I am enjoying it so far, though, for the most part. So more thoughts to come for that. Obviously, I'm not even at the halfway point yet, so more thoughts to come in the future for that one. Another book I am reading right now is Clara and the Sun by Ishiguro. This is such a good book so far for me. I'm loving it. The interesting thing about it is it's very minimal in its approach to character building or character development. It's not necessarily, I would say, the most character-driven type of story. And it's also more minimal when it comes to explaining the world and how that works. That said, I adore the characters in this book, and I adore the imagination and the wonder it is bringing me, and the way that my imagination is being challenged to fill in the gaps when it comes to the world. I'm buddy reading this with Murphy and Jimmy. This is my first Ishiguro book, and I rarely hear this book being talked about on a high level compared to some of his other books. But I am so fascinated. I've actually been quite emotional at times reading this book, and I'm really hoping that the rest of the book delivers as much as the first half has so far. Now to talk about the books I'm planning to read in addition to the ones I'm currently reading. So I would really like to start Sailing to Sarantium by Guy Gavriel Kay. I want to continue with Guy Gavriel Kay. Love his style. Love the books I've read from him so far. And I know that this is quite a popular duology. I understand from Jake Bishop, that this particular book is set in a fantasy version of the Byzantine Empire. He said on GOODREADS that ironically it has no sailing in it. That I guess that's a figure of speech in the title. But I have, like I said, heard great things. So I would like to start this duology, maybe finish it this season. We shall see. And next on my list is The Great Ordeal by R. Scott Baker. This is book number 3 in the Aspect Emperor series, the Aspect Emperor Quartet. And it's also book number 6 in the Second Apocalypse series. I have been loving this series so much. I didn't think anything could top The Warrior Prophet, book number 2 in the Prince of Nothing trilogy. And wow, I've been impressed. I was proven wrong with The Judging Eye and with White Luck Warrior. So I can't wait to see where this story goes. I can't wait to discuss it with Philip Chase. And yeah, what can I say? I love Baker's Prose. I love this world. I've talked about it quite a bit. If you want to hear my thoughts on the White Luck Warrior, I'll link the last video I did, which is totally spoiler free. Last on my list is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. The premise on Amazon is already so sad. It says here that a young black girl's desire for blue eyes exposes the devastating effects of internationalized racism and society's narrow beauty standards. I'm already expecting some tears with that one, and I know that Toni Morrison is a critically acclaimed author. This was her first critically acclaimed book, and she's also a Nobel Prize winning author, I believe, for her novel Beloved. So I'm going to be buddy reading this with Micah, who's the one who suggested it. He's already read it before, but he would like to reread it, and so I'm sure that we'll have some great discussions back and forth whenever we get to this, and I'm hoping to get to it maybe in September, if not October. Okay, there is one more book that I am hoping to get to this season, and that is It by Stephen King. So I started out this year reading a lot of shorter fiction, and now I seem to be reading a lot of longer books, but It by Stephen King is one I do need to get to. This was recommended to me from Mike from Mike's Book Reviews. I was in a discussion with him on iWizard's channel, and the three of us recommended books to one another, and Mike recommended it to me. And I figure I may as well try to read it during spooky season, because that's the best time to read some King. And I love Stephen King's writing. I haven't read nearly as many books as some people, but I've really enjoyed the books I've read. And I come from a family of King fans. So I will try to get to this. It is huge, but I'm thinking October I might try to knock it out. I know it reads fast, probably because King's style is easy to consume. Hopefully I won't be too disturbed, because I know it's going to be very disturbing, and I do get easily scared when it comes to King's horror. So we'll see, but that's about it. Those are the books I'm planning to read this fall season. I, again, plan to pick up some other books here and there as the mood allows, as time allows. And that actually reminds me, I do have a book from a friend that a friend lent me that I need to get to, a collection of short stories. That is it. Those are the books I'm planning to read this fall season. It is starting to rain, so I've got to go inside. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.